Near-death experiences are something that almost everybody has in their life. Now, it could be just almost drowning or almost anything. I may have never broken a bone or taken a big fall or really hurt myself in really big manners, but I still have had my fair share of near-death experiences. By my young age, still, I've had two. I could argue three, but that third one that would happen when I was very little was because I almost drowned. That's something that I feel like happens to almost everybody when they're young. The main one, and the one I'm going to talk about today, is why I don't really smoke weed anymore. A few years ago, I was given some weed by, let's say, an unnamed person. This unnamed person gave me some weed. They did not know, hopefully, that this had what is known as fentanyl on it. If you don't know what fentanyl is one of the most deadly drugs. It's an opioid that's used to cut or extend the usage of usually heroin. Now, I never saw this coming, so I smoked that weed. I smoked on that as I usually do. I remember about 15, 20 minutes later, I thought, man, I feel really weird. I feel off. So I went and took a shower. Now, up to that point, I had never had a panic attack in my entire life. Now I have panic attacks like once a week because of it. But that was my first panic attack that night because I felt like something was off and something in my life wasn't feeling right. When I was taking a shower, I remember extremely clearly being like punched in the chest as hard as somebody physically could. And in that moment, instantly, I stepped out of the shower realizing something is not right and I need to go to the hospital. Now, I called somebody in, let's deal with another unnamed person, telling them I need to go to the hospital. They told me that I'm alright and that I'm just thinking strange. This was the same unnamed person that had given me the substance that had allowed me to start the overdose in the first place. I said once back to them that I really think that I'm about to die and that I need to go to the hospital. Instead of doing that, what ended up happening was a little bit later, I was given NyQuil. Now, this was a very deadly combo. I may have not overdosed completely if I had just taken the fentanyl on accident, but taking the NyQuil put me to sleep. I remember I was watching YouTube on my TV that was above my bed, and then I fell asleep. I woke up, and when I woke up, I was in the back of an ambulance. Now, waking up in an ambulance is the weirdest feeling in the world. That's something you can never get used to. Even though I've had it happen more than once, it's just something that you don't really like. I put pieces together of what happened way faster than I probably should have. And I remember the only thing I really wanted when I was in the hospital was water, and they wouldn't give it to me. For anyone who cares, overdosing didn't really hurt, other than that punch in the chest and the feeling of death because you feel like you're going to die. What really hurts is knowing that you're not going to trust that unnamed person ever again. You're never going to want to trust them. You can't really trust them. Because somewhere in the back of my mind, it feels like they tried to poison me. Because I never did stuff like that, and I never will do stuff like that ever in my life. At that time, I just smoked weed, and it was all sunshine and rainbows when I just smoked the Zaza, bro. I'm not telling anybody who smokes weed to not smoke weed because of this. It's just like a cautionary tale. Like, fentanyl exists no matter where you go in the drugs. Like, weed may not be bad for you. It can be good for you at points, but it can also kill you like it did to me. The people who do these drugs happen to not realize how incredibly dangerous they are for people who don't. They are, like, beyond dangerous at a point where I think you've probably heard a pin needle amount can just put you dead on the spot. And that's what happened to me. I spent a week and a half in the hospital, and it was really not a good time because basically the entire time I was coughing blood and nothing was nice. I don't understand how people who do those things can stand up from it afterwards and not be and not have any recurring health issues. Of course, because of this, I now can't really smoke weed because it gives me panic attacks because I think I'm about to die, which is something that really, really sucks because I did enjoy smoking weed. It's a legal state for me, by the way, so I'm completely allowed to. But then all of a sudden, I no longer want to smoke weed or do anything like that ever again. The most you'll see me doing is occasionally drinking, and I don't even really like to drink to a point of drunk because it gives me a feeling of like I'm unable to control myself. Like, I don't like being high. I don't like being drunk. I just like being sober because I can think clearly and I can think concisely. This is a bit of a hard topic for me to talk about, obviously, for obvious reasons, because I really don't like talking about the near-death experience I had with that. But it's happened more than once, that's the worst part. Except the second time, I realized it was there, and I didn't smoke the thing that had it on it, which was a cigarette this time. My sympathy goes for anybody who has people in their family or people near them that do drugs. I myself have had people like that around me and around my family my entire life. So I really feel bad for anybody who has to go through that. It's something that people can't really describe. It's something that I can't really describe. If you'd ever like me to go into more detail, I can about this, but I feel like nobody really wants to listen about it. That's why I've never really made videos talking about these things. Now I'm asking as well, if you've watched this far, I'm surprised. Uh Please, if you're watching my streams as well, don't talk about this in my stream chats. I don't like to talk about it, really. I really just like to leave things vague about my life for very, very obvious reasons. But if you'd like me to elaborate more, feel free to comment on this video. I'll elaborate in the comment section. I'll elaborate maybe in a future video. That's if people really want to see it. I can't see a reason why, though. Very important things to keep in mind, though. Don't actually do drugs. Drugs like heroin, fentanyl, cocaine, meth are fucking awful. They'll ruin lives instantly. I've seen it, and I promise you, you don't want to do it. It's truly the most sad thing in the world watching somebody who doesn't want to get up in the day unless they have some sort of substance to make them go. It's sad, it's pathetic, and they stop caring about others. So my sympathy to them can't be reciprocated in any way. All they want is just more heroin. So it doesn't really feel like there's a connection between the person anymore. It just feels like they have a connection to what they're doing. Addiction, though, is a disease. It's not something people can choose right or wrong over at a point. Let's take an example here. Quitting smoking for me. It's really difficult. It feels like something I need to do. It feels like something that makes me me. I feel like it's just something that I've gotten used to at a point. Where if I can't quit smoking, why could I expect them to quit doing what they're doing? When it's 1,000 times harder than you could ever imagine. For a drug like heroin as well, it's almost impossible to quit. Where when you try to quit, you get sick. And you start like needing it because otherwise your body will like shut down and you won't be able to function for 2-3 weeks afterwards. Not saying that anybody who's addicted to these things is a bad person automatically. People who are addicted to drugs usually are good people beforehand. Just they may have became a bad person because of what they're doing. They may have became way more horrible than you could ever expect. Or they could become the same person. It's just they're addicted. They're a bum now. They don't have money. They don't have many friends. All they really have is their drugs and maybe a few people they know. Well, thank you for watching. I'm not going to do a little jig because this is a little bit of a different video. If you want me to elaborate farther, you can tell me in the comments. I'm completely willing to if people want to listen, but I don't see a reason otherwise. If I'm just going to get 10 views, I can talk to avoid as much as I want about my issues in life. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Peace. Thank you for tuning in today.